Fearscape Media Network, exploring the unknown, one podcast at a time.
Fearscape Media Network is your new home for everything weird and enlightening. Check out podcasts and YouTube shows covering content from discussions on horror films to the paranormal to meditation. Find out more at fearscapemedia.com.
Ghosts in the Attics, Bodies in the Basements may contain graphic, violent, vulgar, or explicit content not suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Thanks for tuning in to Ghosts in the Attics, Bodies in the Basement. Welcome to Rosewood Manor. I'm Anna Timperley.
And Lindsay Behe. Come on in. Let's go to the parlor and get to know each other.
Ooh, great idea. All right. So let me tell you a little bit about myself for those who are just now listening for the first time. My name's Anna. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I also have dogs, so I'm a dog mom too. And then I'm married for almost 14 years. Wow, that's weird to say out loud. But yeah, my husband's name is Alan, and he's a pretty cool dude. Don't tell him I said so. Don't want to inflate his ego. We also both have a passion for writing, aside from just constantly talking, which is why we decided to start the podcast to begin with. So yeah, we both write, and we actually put out a book together, which is kind of cool. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Lindsay.
Well, I'm Lindsay. Like Anna, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I also have dogs who are very talkative, but thankfully and hopefully they will remain quiet for our time. And I am also been married for, God, almost 12 years. Yeah, almost
Wow.
12 years. That's crazy.
It's so weird to say that out, like the number out loud. Like it seems like forever some days, but then also it feels like no time at all. Isn't that crazy?
And especially because it's like, once you realize how long you've been married, it's like, oh my God, am I old?
Right? No, we're not old. Like fine wine, we just get better with age.
We do. We get so much better with age. But yeah, Anna and I have known each other for going on 9 years now.
Yeah, our anniversary's coming up.
In
June? June, May. I don't know.
I think it was June, because you did the Father's Day photo shoot of my oldest kid.
We can never remember our meet date, but that's okay. So yeah, like we were saying, it's crazy to say a number out loud because it like feels like forever, but I don't know. Like it's so interesting though to think about like all the things you've done and all the things you're going to do, and the fact that we've been friends for almost a decade doesn't seem real.
Yeah. But I mean, with how much we talk with each other.
Yeah, I make the joke that I live in her phone.
Yes, we are extensions of each other. We actually said that on a podcast a few weeks ago, when they asked about how we are able to write so well together.
Yeah, Misters of the Dark. You should check them out. They're pretty awesome.
They're also on the Fearscape Media Network, like we are.
So our first episode is going to be talking about Irish folklore. So let's dive into that a little bit. So what do you know about St. Patrick's Day? Well, not really a lot, given the fact that I'm Irish. I feel like really ashamed to say that. And I found out a lot more things than I thought I would.
There are a lot of things in Irish folklore that I had no idea were Irish folklore. It's just common in pop culture now, especially with shows like Supernatural.
And then there's that show Lore that's based on the podcast Lore, and like some things are on there too. Yeah, I seen that on I think it was either Amazon Prime or Hulu. I can't remember where I found it, but I was like, but yeah, so that's really cool. I think it's based on the podcast. correct me if I'm wrong, listeners. Just don't at me too hard. But so let's do a few fun facts about
St. Patrick's
St.
Day.
Patrick's Day. You want to start us off, Lindsay?
Yeah, sure. First of all, this was something that I thought was crazy. I've never heard it somehow in all my 30 years of life. Did you know that the color green is not the original St. Patrick's Day color?
Seriously?
Yeah, it was apparently originally supposed to be St. Patrick's blue.
Oh, that would be weird.
Yeah, could you imagine everyone's just going out wearing a really light blue shade?
It would feel like Easter.
It would, kind of more like pastels. I don't know what they consider the St. Patrick's blue. I know it just says light blue. We'll have to Google that and see how it actually looks. But yeah, apparently green is a fairly new concept.
Oh, that's really interesting.
I guess it would have to do with the Irish independence movement in the 18th century is how they
really
switched it to green. Don't know what.
Oh, probably because of the Irish flag.
Oh, okay. See, I'm not Irish, and if I am Irish, I have no idea about it. So I doubt it.
I think that's in their flag.
Okay.
Me again if I'm wrong.
I'm pretty sure my family was English. We were Smith.
I'm a little bit of everything. I'm kind of like a mutt. I'm a lot of European things.
I have no idea.
My brother did one of those 23andMe DNA tests.
Oh, did he?
He got it as a gift one year for Christmas. That's a really rad gift, Neil.
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. I want to see if ours are different. But yeah. So wouldn't it be weird if his DNA was different than mine, even though we have the same parents?
It would be.
Although it wouldn't surprise me none.
Yeah, that's probably not how DNA works.
With science. I'm not a scientist. I wouldn't know. All right. Did you know that St. Patrick wasn't Irish?
I think I remember seeing something about that.
Yeah.
Actually.
Although he made his mark by introducing Christianity. He made his mark by introducing Christianity to Ireland in the year 432. Patrick wasn't Irish himself. He was born Roman, and his parents were Scottish of Wales in the late 4th century, I believe. So that's kind of interesting.
I think I had read that he was kidnapped to be a slave in Ireland.
Oh, how awful.
And then escaped and joined the church and then ended up going back to Ireland to introduce Christianity. I can't remember where I read that.
Let me write your woes.
Yeah, I can't remember where I read that, but I swear I've read that. Maybe it was on Irish Post or something.
Probably. We got a lot of information from the Irish Post.
Yes, we did.
They're a lot of very useful information.
Yeah, I learned a lot. You all should check them out. We're not affiliated. We just Googled them.
No, we just Google. Google's our friend.
Do you know, okay, we all know that St. Patrick's Day, everyone goes out pub crawling, dyeing your beer green. It is a drinking day. Yeah. It used to be a dry holiday.
Seriously? That's so weird.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think so because of how popular alcohol is on said day.
I know, which I think is more of an Americanized thing. America has a tendency to do that, of making every nationality's holiday alcohol for America.
Hey, but, I guess it says Americans need to drink.
Yeah, I guess so. Or we just all have an unspoken problem. But yeah, it used to be a very strictly religious holiday, which makes sense because St. Patrick.
Right.
And it was all about feasting, which I'm always down for that.
Yeah, I make shepherd's pie every year. It's pretty dope.
That's great. I think one year I made Irish potato cakes.
Ooh, yum. I want to make Guinness stew, but I live in Oklahoma and Guinness is real hard to find where I'm at.
Is it? I haven't even tried to look
store. I asked somebody, I was like, can I get some Guinness? Can you point me in that direction? They're like, we have Heineken. I go, so not the same thing.
No. I remember when I was in high school, a group of my friends went with some school club, I guess, maybe on a trip to Ireland.
Ooh,
and one of my friends, I know, right? I didn't get to do those things in high school. I was in the wrong clubs, I guess.
I mean, I did, but nothing fun.
I remember my friend brought me a little chocolate from the Guinness factory. And I swear, even though this was God knows how many years ago,
yeah, we won't go
I can still taste that. I can still taste that chocolate.
That sounds amazing.
I want more of it. So if anybody knows where to get that here in the States, I'd appreciate that.
So speaking of festivities on St. Patrick's Day, there's also like parades, which most of us associate parades with like Thanksgiving, but there's parades on or like Mardi Gras, things like that.
4th of July.
4th of July, yeah. So there's a big St. Patrick's Day parade every year since 1762 in New York City.
Really?
Yep, they had the world's largest parade since 1762, which is kind of crazy. They go
That's longer than we've been a country.
Yeah,
an independent country. Let me rephrase.
right. Since they go up Fifth Avenue on foot, the parade still doesn't allow floats or cars or other modern trappings. So yeah.
Interesting. I wonder if that's why maybe I haven't really known that much about it, because like Macy's Day Parade is like the big balloons and the big floats, so it's like televised everywhere. I wonder if that just doesn't look good on television, or I just don't
Or
watch
maybe
those
it's just like
channels.
not televised and it's just kind of like
a local
thing, which is cool.
Yeah. Another big city that does stuff for St. Patrick's Day is Chicago.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, they actually dyed the Chicago River green.
What? That would be interesting to see. I've never been
That
to
would be
Chicago,
interesting
but
to
I
see.
want to go now on St. Patrick's Day.
You know, my friend who I mentioned before, who gave me that Guinness candy, lives in Chicago. So Kelsey, take some pictures of that river and send it to us.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to see that because it's coming up. It's like what, 2
When
weeks
this
from now?
airs, you all will be hearing this episode on St.
On
Patrick's,
St. Patrick's Day. So yeah, or
if
maybe
you
after
were-
if you're a late listener, which is fine. We don't judge.
Yeah. So if anybody's in Chicago, Kelsey or otherwise, let us see that river. So that way, like, it'd be really cool to see personal photos instead of just
Like selfies with the river.
instead of just Google.
And I
We
know
already
that this
said we're
is
on
like
Google.
the time of quarantine, but I feel like just walking outside and taking a picture of like the river should be safe as long as you wear your mask and stay distance and whatnot.
Yeah, I was just about to ask. I wonder if they are still doing it with COVID protocols, but I mean,
It's dying
surely-
water, so probably.
yeah. Who knows? Surely
Yeah.
that wouldn't be something that was like ruined by COVID.
So I talked about parades a minute ago. For some St. Patrick's Day parades, it's the thought that counts. It really is.
Yeah.
Not every city has like big parades. Okay, so not every city goes all out. But they make an effort. So from 99 to 2007, the Irish village of, and please be nice to me because I'm not going to say this right, Dripsey, probably wrong. Sorry if I
Your guess is
offended
as good as
anyone.
mine.
Proudly touted that they hosted the shortest St. Patrick's Day parade in the world. The route ran for 26 yards between two pubs. Today, Hot Springs, Arkansas claims the title for a brevity of a mere 98 feet.
Am I the only one that thinks it's a little bit weird that some town in Arkansas had to beat Ireland for
Right,
St.
like
Patrick's Day thing?
right.
Was
like-
that necessary? Unless
Well-
it's like a very Irish town that I don't know of.
I've never been to
No.
Hot Springs. I've been to Arkansas when Alan's grandparents lived there, but never to Hot Springs. It's on the list of places I think is pretty and would like to go to.
Yeah.
They have like pretty nice little resorts.
Yeah. So maybe they're an Irish town and that's why, but otherwise I find it a little odd that they're
Right.
kind of state some fame in an Irish holiday. But maybe it also goes back to what I said before, where a lot of the St. Patrick's Day celebration stuff that we see is Americanized.
True.
So did you know that there is a reason that the Shamrock
Yeah, because they're
is
just
seen
so
as St.
darn
Patrick's
cute.
Day? And they're everywhere. No.
They really are everywhere. They're 4-leaf clovers, right? That's St.
Wait.
Patrick's Day.
The pre-leaf is the lucky one, though. Let me rephrase that. Allegedly, because there's a lot of stuff about St. Patrick that's not actually confirmed.
True.
Probably
it was a
because
long
it was
time ago.
What was the year 432 or whatever? Like,
Right.
very long time ago. But there is a legend that he actually used the 3-leaf clover to explain the Holy Trinity with his whole bringing Christianity to Ireland.
Oh, how neat. And
So
see,
each
I
leaf-
thought
yeah.
that the 4-leaf clover was the lucky one.
Is it?
I thought, I could be wrong. I'm wrong about almost everything.
I could be wrong.
No. Either which way. That's really interesting. So we have all heard that St. Patrick got the snakes out of Ireland, right? Well, did you know that cold weather helped him get his claim to fame? In
Oh, really?
Irish lore, St. Patrick is known for driving all the snakes out of Ireland, but
Mhm.
modern scientists suggest that it may not have been too hard. According to fossil records, Ireland has never been home to any snakes.
Hmm.
Yeah. Uh, in the Ice Age, Ireland was too cold to host any reptiles, and the surrounding seas have starved off serpents ever since. Yeah, he apparently didn't do anything with snakes. It's just folklore.
Or I know he was a missionary. Maybe it's metaphorical because snake being Satan in the
Oh,
garden.
yeah.
So maybe it's just metaphorical.
Maybe we're thinking the wrong type of snake here.
Like he got rid of the snake.
I'm a naked little snake. I
Well,
love
snakes and stones never broke my bones.
that.
To quote the queen herself, Taylor Swift. Sorry about that. I had to get a drink.
Yes,
So,
coffee is a must.
Edit.
No edit necessary. Drinking is necessary.
To quote Georgia and Karen, Stephen, come on. But there is no Stephen here. It's just us.
Right.
Oh.
We're not there yet.
Maybe someday Stephen hit us up. No. Also, did you know that Patrick was not even St. Patrick's name?
No, I didn't. What was it like? Patricia? I'm kidding. That's the only thing I could think of.
I'm going to pronounce this wrong, I'm sure. Maywin the cat?
So Maywin was
that's what
Patrick's
they think his
name?
birth name may have been.
Oh.
I'm sure I'm butchering that because
unfortunately, as much as I'd love to speak Gaelic, I don't. And
well, he was. Yeah, I don't even know what that would be though, if he was Roman born.
oh, then yeah, I don't know that either.
But
just for anything Irish related, we don't speak Gaelic as cool as it is and as bad as I want to learn it. I don't possess those qualities right now.
Right. Like we never claim to be history scholars, guys. So
right.
So just give us a break, okay? All right. So enough about St. Patrick's Day, because as awesome as it may be, at least in America, for the partying and whatnot, we've kind of already proven that a lot of the stuff around the legends of St. Patrick are just that, legends. But in Irish history in general, there's a lot more very interesting lore that I really would like to talk about today. Starting with the most popular icon probably of Irish lore, and that is leprechauns.
The man, the myth, the legend, the mascot of St. Patrick's Day.
The little short guy with the red hair and the green suit. You know, they leave pots of gold at the end of the rainbow. But
and not a Lucky Charms box, not sponsored. Although if they want to give me free cereal, I'm down.
At least the marshmallows. Come on, Kellogg's.
Yes.
Is it Kellogg's?
I feel like a failure for not knowing this.
Right, that's like all my kids eat is Lucky Charms.
Landon too. That and Fruit Loops.
If it's not Kellogg's, it's General Mills. It's General Mills. I feel like I feel it in my bones. It's General Mills. This is the important things in life.
Oh, this is our life. All right, so tell me about leprechauns, lady.
Well, everybody probably already knows that they are the Irish symbol of luck. And they're kind of a small, jolly elf-like creature with ginger beard and hair and the green hat. And also, maybe you knew this, but I did not know this. There are no women leprechauns.
Well, that's just bullshit.
I guess since one of the defining features is a beard, I guess.
Hey, there were bearded ladies in the circus, even though they shouldn't have been circus workers unless they wanted to be. But that's not fair.
I will say, though, leprechauns are considered a type of fairy, which I have learned during research for this episode that most Irish folklore are different types of fairies. And so maybe that's why there's no women, because there's other female fairy beings.
I wonder
that
if they like
later
are asexual, if they just like auto reproduce. How are there more leprechauns if there are no women leprechauns?
Or do they just spawn?
Oh yeah, make a wish, leprechaun.
Well, they actually grant wishes if you find them, apparently.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And apparently, yeah, he has to grant you 3 wishes before he leaves you or whatever.
Huh. I need to catch me a leprechaun. Gold and
But
wishes. What?
you have to be careful because, like with any being who grants wishes, it's going to be tricky.
Yeah,
Like,
they're like
it's going
tricky
to trick you.
little
Which makes
mischievous
me
men.
wonder, do we know, and this might just be my lack of Googling, is Rumpelstiltskin a leprechaun?
Ew, that's really interesting. I don't know. Is he a leprechaun or is he like a gremlin or something? Do they grant wishes? We'll have to Google.
Does
Ooh,
he grant, but does he
episode
grant
idea.
wishes?
Rumpelstiltskin does wishes. Isn't that what the thing
But
is?
I know
Or-
he has to guess the baby's name.
yeah.
No, that's not right. She has to guess his name or he takes her baby.
So maybe he is a gremlin. We need to do a
But that's a
Rumpelstiltskin
note.
episode.
Yeah, that's a note for another episode. So he's probably not a leprechaun. I was just thinking like trickiness.
Right.
Him was very tricky because he was tricking her into giving her baby away.
Right.
So something to research later.
Heck yeah.
But leprechauns usually are by themselves.
Solitude.
And
They enjoyed their solitude because people were trying to steal their gold.
well, yeah, and that's probably why they were hiding it all the time. But apparently they were shoe cobblers.
Huh.
And they enjoy practical jokes. Which goes back to the tricky with the wishes.
I wonder if they know the Keebler elves. They can get me some cookies.
I wonder where Keebler elves originate.
I don't
Wonder if they're Irish. Probably not.
know. Right.
Just because I said that, it's probably like a really well-known thing that they're from some other place.
Right.
You're from
The magical land of cookies. All right. So, do you think that's interesting? Have you heard about changelings? And they're a little
Anything-
creepy. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Anything to do with children freak me out, especially that episode of Supernatural with the changelings. I always just picture the woman in the car and her daughter in the back seat. I think it's the daughter in the back seat.
yeah,
And a changeling. And doesn't she like drive the car into the lake?
I think.
Good.
So when you think of the word fairy, you often think Tinkerbell because Disney. But beyond that, you think of gentle beings with nothing but pleasantries and they're the little companions for humans. No, that isn't the case for changelings. Changelings were fairies who had been left in place of a human child. So imagine your sweet little baby is no longer a baby. They've been stolen by the fairies and replaced with a changeling. No, I'm not okay with this. The child is taken for one of three reasons: to act as a servant to fairies, to give them love that only a human child could offer, or for revenge, which is just speaks to a whole new level of creep.
Which brings me back to Rumpelstiltskin.
Right.
I'm like hung up on that. Sorry.
I don't know if he's a fairy or if he's maybe a leprechaun. I don't.
Based
Well,
off his
leprechauns
name,
are
he's
fairies.
definitely- Right. Based off his name, I'm guessing he's not Irish. What is it,
Right.
German?
Maybe. Stiltskin sounds German. So, they swap the kids. But did you know that in medieval times, children with deformities or illnesses or conditions that you couldn't really explain at that time because of the lack of science were thought to have been replaced with changelings because, God forbid, you be different.
That's awful.
Yeah, most were abandoned or even killed.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine back in a time like that, especially you hear something like we automatically started off talking about how terrifying changelings are.
Right.
Imagine back then where there's no access to research, science, computers, TV, whatever, to know what's fact or fiction.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was probably honestly terrifying.
Not to mention, I don't know what century we're talking about, like probably the 18th century.
Right.
Like there were the Salem witch trials also. And
You're different, you're bad. And
you're different, you're bad. And if it goes against Christianity or whatever religion you believe in at the time, it's just you're going straight to hell and we're going to set you on fire or something. So yeah.
That's so
a lot of people
heartbreaking, though.
suspected that their babies had been swapped with a changeling who still felt that they had to look after and love their changeling child for fear that the fairies would harm their stolen child or worse, never bring it back.
Oh, how sad is that though, to like know that child was raised by parents who were just keeping you alive because one day their baby's gonna be back.
Yeah, that's so hard. And like if they told the child that, like it's next level. Ugh.
Like,
Yuck.
don't worry, one day the fairies are gonna come back for you and I'll get my baby back. Like
Right.
what a complex that must have given so many children if they even lived to adulthood, because if they were sick and deformities, they probably didn't live very long, honestly.
Right.
But
Did you know that not all changelings are considered to be like children? This one man
Really?
believed that his wife was a changeling. That they had swapped his wife to be a changeling.
Oh.
And it's kind of wild. So in 1895, Bridget Cleary she was set on fire by her husband
God.
because he believed she was a fairy.
In 1895?
In 1895, he thought that
That sounds too recent for it to be like burning witches.
Right.
Oh my God.
So Joanna Burke went to pay her cousin Bridget Cleary a visit. She found the 26-year-old held down and force-fed a concoction of herbs and milk.
Oh.
Yeah, isn't that gross? The men restraining her were 3 of Joanna's brothers, an elderly neighbor named John Doone, and Bridget's own husband, Michael. Bridget, a dressmaker and egg seller, had taken ill and had been bedridden for a number of days. She had remained under the watchful eye of her husband, who had sent for a doctor in a nearby town and at one point requested a priest. So, like I said, like different equals bad, bad equals bad against
She's
religion.
sick and we have to call a priest because
Right.
obviously something's wrong with her.
Yep.
Like on a
Religious level.
yeah, not a physical level. Oh gosh.
By March 14th, 1895, he had also sent for herbs gleaned from a witch doctor
Oh.
type guy named Dennis Guinea.
Okay, but she's a witch, but he can go to the witch doctor to get
Right.
things to take care of her.
Right.
I smell hypocrite.
Right. So Michael Cleary was grasping at straws, essentially, that he was completely convinced that his wife was a malevolent changeling fairy. According to court reports in the Irish Times on March 27th of that year, Joanna said the men forced Bridget to take the herbs, and Cleary asked her, "Are you Bridget Boland, the wife of Michael Cleary, in the name of God?" End quote. She answered twice and then refused to answer a third time, and then she was hauled up and held in a sitting position over the slow burning embers of her stove. Yeah.
Okay. So much
this
to
lady,
unwrap
her
here.
cousin like watched her get like force fed like a witch concoction and burned alive. How awful is that?
But also, he's sitting here force feeding her herbs.
Witchcraft.
And then being like, "You're acting weird."
Right.
You're
being
poisoning
weird.
me, dude.
Right.
You're poisoning me.
And like, what if
I'm
she had like the
sick.
flu?
Right? Like if she's acting all like off the wall, she could have had a fever, but if she's answering their questions,
But wouldn't
it's
answer
like, no.
times.
Right. It's like how many times do I have to prove to myself before you accept that that's the answer? But no, even though you're poisoning me, I'm ill, likely from all the herbs I've been force fed. I'm a witch. That sounds like a bunch of crap that he made up to get away with murdering his wife.
Yeah. So like I said, she was set on fire. Her cousin had to watch. Gross, awful. In her kitchen. She eventually responded, quote, "I am Bridget Boland, daughter of Pat Boland, in the name of God," end quote, referring to her maiden name. That's the story of Michael Cleary. Like,
That's just awful.
Yeah.
And like I said, honestly, I can't speak for what it was like living back then. But considering they were holding her down, force feeding her God knows what type of herbs.
Right.
It sounds like they just used it as a scapegoat. Like,
Right.
oh, well, clearly, like, I know she answered me very clearly the correct answer 3 times, but like, you don't understand, she wasn't herself.
Right. Oh, I hear a little one.
Always. Speaking of screaming toddlers.
Oh, yeah.
What do you
thankfully
know?
She's not screaming at the moment.
Right. But what do you know about banshees?
Just that I got told I was screaming like them a lot when I was a child. And I tell my children don't scream like a banshee or a pterodactyl.
Well, for me,
Very separate things, but
For me, the extent of my knowledge about Banshees prior to looking them up for this episode was what I've seen on TV, especially Charmed. Did you ever watch Charmed growing up?
I did. I've seen it all the way through like 3 times,
Oh,
and I can't tell you very much about it.
Right. I'll have to rewatch it in my adulthood.
Disassociation.
I know, right? But I just absolutely loved Charmed growing up. And there was an episode with a banshee. I think Phoebe actually turns into a banshee, and like Phoebe was always who I aspired to be. And so it was just so
You
yeah.
aspired to be Phoebe. I always wanted to be Piper.
I kind of wanted to be a little bit of both. I never cared for Prue or Rose. Rose?
No.
No, that's her real name.
Rose is her real name, Paige.
Paige. Sorry, Rose McGowan, but just wasn't a fan of the character. But no, I wanted to be Phoebe. And so
although she had the best clothes, her and Phoebe had the best clothes.
They all did. Like early 2000s fashion, man, like in 90s fashion, but like actual fashion.
Not the jeans and dresses movement.
Yeah. But yeah, so I didn't really know very much about Banshees, but I have actually a really funny story that goes back to that episode of Charmed, right? So I was also really into Lord of the Rings back then. I still am, but back then is when the movies were all coming out. And so it was like all brand new and awesome. And one year for Halloween, my mom worked so hard to make me this beautiful elf gown. So my mom is awesome and can literally make anything.
So you're telling me you weren't Frodo?
Heck no, I was an elf.
You're an elf? I'm disappointed.
You know me at all? No.
I've never seen Lord of the Rings, and this is the thing that we fight about.
That's like the one thing that we just don't agree on in our relationship is that Lord of the Rings is awesome. She refuses.
I tried. No, I tried. Like over Christmas break, and Landon came in about 17 different times, and it's a very slow-paced movie, and you have to pay attention. And I just could not because my child wouldn't let me. So blame Landon. I tried to watch Lord of the Rings. Although, are you supposed to start with The Hobbit now? Because technically The Hobbit is the origin story of the...
Well, I mean, we went all those years before The Hobbit movies came out. Of course, the book came out before, but...
Oh, I know, but what order are you supposed to watch the movies in if I'm supposed to watch these movies?
If you wanted to watch them all chronologically, yes, you would start with The Hobbit movies, because it's when Bilbo was younger.
Okay.
But anyway, that was a huge sidebar. But anyways... So my mom, like I said, can make anything. She made me this beautiful gown. It was like shiny teal fabric. Like it was magical.
Ooh.
But like I think I even had like a wig. I know I had the little rubber elf ear points that you put over your ear.
Right.
Not like the special effects makake stuff. Like I'm talking like they did literally just like a little cap over your ear.
Yeah.
Because this was the early 2000s. And at that age, you can go out trick-or-treating by yourself with your friends. Because I was probably around 11 or 12, kind of nearing the end of my trick-or-treating age, and I was walking around with my best friend.
Don't let that fool you, people at home. You're never too old to trick-or-treat. You're just too old for people to give you candy. Yeah,
I tried going trick-or-treating once when I was 16, and the lady said, "How old are you guys?" Like,
that's rude.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry. If I'd rather be out trick-or-treating than going out and like throwing a party in a field, I'm from Oklahoma.
We just wanted some candy before we went to work at the haunted house. Okay.
Right.
Anyways, so we're out trick-or-treating, and it's me and my best friend. I don't know where my siblings were. Probably out with their friends, trick-or-treating on their own. And I remember, like, she was also into Lord of the Rings. But then I remember the boy I had a crush on comes up with us. And let me just say, if there are any younger listeners, which there shouldn't be, but if there are any younger listeners out here,
like let's keep this like 18 and up, because we had foul language and
we don't know what kind of topic. Far.
Yeah, we're pretty proud of us. Look at us with our church voice.
But so I don't recommend this.
Church goers, this is just, I try not to cuss when I go to church, you know, Jesus and all.
Yeah. So I don't recommend this if you're young, but I got suddenly very self-conscious of the fact that I was dressed as like a Lord of the Rings elf. And so I started thinking back to that episode of Charmed. And I'm like, there's a banshee.
Elf ear?
Probably cut the ears off.
I think banshees considered, from what I remember, maybe they might be fairies too. So, I mean, everything seems to be fairies.
The word banshee, which is actually spelled in its original spelling.
Yeah.
BEAN space SI with the accent.
Yeah.
And it means fairy woman or otherworldly woman.
Ooh.
And like I said, all Irish folklore is just fairies. I'm pretty sure. But no, but banshees are usually kind of seen as scary now, but it's not really how they actually were. They are the harbinger of death, and it was said that when you see her screaming, wailing, or sometimes even like clapping or singing, that somebody in your family is about to die.
Oh yeah. So maybe we
And
shouldn't tell our kids that they scream like banshees.
maybe because then that's like we thought it was the changelings, but it's the banshee. No, but yeah, but the banshee wasn't actually the one who does the killing. She's usually said to be preparing you for it.
Okay. Like an Irish Grim Reaper, so to speak.
Yeah, kind of. And so like sometimes people even say that you see her washing blood from the clothes of the family member who's gonna pass. So I guess by the clothes, you would know who it is that she's warning you about.
Okay.
And some people even believe that she is only well, actually, that there's multiple specific ones, but only from noble families.
Oh.
And I guess I don't know why they would be specific to only nobility, but I can get into my theory on why and like some of the things I've researched. But back to the lore. I think I mentioned earlier with like the charm stuff, like she's a young girl, like long hair, like beautiful, but she can also be seen. She can also be seen as like an old hag, which, side note, I did not know that. I thought it was only the young, beautiful, because that's what pop culture has showed us.
Well, yeah.
But what's ironic
they have
about
an old actress.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. But what's ironic about that is I wrote a short story that's actually in paranormal-ish, where a girl's lost in the woods and she comes across an old hag. Who then,
so maybe it's a banshee.
Spoiler alert, tells her she's dead.
Maybe it was a banshee.
Maybe I unintentionally wrote a banshee.
Heck yeah.
Because I didn't know that back then.
Right.
So I thought that was really interesting. But no, they do believe, or at least some people, I guess, in my research, believe that what banshees are in reality, which maybe they are a mythical fairy, but there are some theories or whatever that they actually are Irish keeners. So keening is the Irish, I think it's only Irish. I could be wrong on that. Forgive me if I am.
Okay.
It's a traditional wailing singing, like a lament.
Okay.
And it was often done. You hired women who were the keeners to come to the funeral and sing, and it was said that the singing helped lead the spirits over the other side.
Interesting.
And so some of the theory with the nobility is that those are the people who could afford the keeners.
Oh yeah.
And then, but where it comes in with like how she looks like this otherworldly being, keeners were often paid in alcohol. And so it kind of became old single women with drinking problems.
Oh no.
And so they kind of look disheveled. They might wander around without shoes on, stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of thought that maybe keeners who are wailing after death are the actuality of banshees. But open, I think it could go either way. Yeah, maybe it's a little bit of both.
Maybe if you die young, you become a young banshee, and if you're an old keener, then you pass away, then perhaps you become
an
old banshee. Or, maybe they like to mix it up and like trick people like leprechauns, and maybe they switch back and forth between their images.
Yeah, who knows? Like, honestly, I'm sure there's so much more information that we have just not even found yet. We could have just scratched the surface. But I thought it was like so interesting. And when I got into like reading about keeners and stuff, because I had never heard of that. And I actually looked up on YouTube a couple of songs, and like, very interesting to listen to.
You know what? The old hag reminds me of Snow White and how her evil stepmother turns into an old hag to poison her with the apple. So perhaps that's similar to this. Maybe they were inspired by that.
Or even like Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
The old hag. Oh, I'm going somewhere with this. The old hag comes to the door and the beast is like, no, because he's a child and he's not letting strangers in his house.
Right.
But she turns into a beautiful fairy.
Oh.
He curses him. Oh, full circle.
Yep. So, I mean, beyond that little I actually found something in Irish folklore that is not fairies.
Really?
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the Merrow or sea travelers?
No. What's that?
They're not to be confused with mermaids or mermen. They're an intriguing creature from Irish folklore that are said to live underwater.
I've never
Word
heard of
Merrow
that.
is from the Irish word, and I'm going to butcher this. All Irish listeners or people who speak Gaelic, hear me out. Muri, meaning the sea, and Oghai, meaning maid. Merrow men are horribly ugly little sea creatures, while the female Merrow are supposedly absolutely stunning. I'm talking like gorgeous.
Interesting.
I wonder if that's where sirens come from.
Or are sirens a whole different thing? So I think sirens are in Greek mythology, aren't they?
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
But maybe it's like the Irish version. I don't
Maybe
know.
they have human legs and huge feet,
No,
like huge flat feet.
I'm picturing fins, but I guess not.
They have webbing in their fingers to be the fins. So
Oh,
yeah, these creatures, especially Merrow, are amazing swimmers. Their ability is to their like magical abilities. Oh, sorry if you can hear my dogs like scurrying in the background. They're
I can't hear
ridiculous.
anything.
Their clothing is supposed to be where their magic ability comes from. And it depends on where in Ireland you're, coming from, whether it be a cap that they wear or a cape that they wear. But if the Merrow wants to walk on land, they must take off and abandon their cap or their cape.
Oh.
Now, here's where it gets tricky. If a human were to find these hidden items that the Merrow diligently hide from us humans, then the Merrow must agree to be the human's wife. It didn't really say what happens if a woman was to find this clothing, just if a man was to find the clothing. But
Well, maybe if we're playing around with the idea that there's some sort of similarity to sirens lure men. So maybe a woman isn't likely to find them.
Perhaps. Now, what happens whenever they're all like married and they play house, they have kids? She finds her stuff that's hidden.
Oh.
Well, then she's overtaken by an unnatural desire to leave and go back to the ocean. She'll leave.
Aquaman's parents or his mom.
I don't know. I've never seen Aquaman. Yeah, I know. Come at me, Marvel fans.
No, it's DC.
DC. See, exactly. I don't do comic book stuff.
I just know that she was like the queen of the water thing.
I like witches and whatnot.
She fell in love with Aquaman's dad, who's a human.
Oh.
And then she ends up back at the sea, but I can't remember if it was by force or if she was longing for it, because I'm more Marvel than DC.
I want to read a book about mermaids. Ooh, maybe we should do a lot of research and write a book about the Merrow. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
I'd be down for that.
The webbing in the fingers, I know you said not to be confused with mermaids, but the webbing in the fingers makes me think of the mermaids off of Harry Potter.
Right? Yeah.
It kind of makes sense because you're talking about like they're like horribly ugly or whatever. It would kind of make sense if maybe they were inspired by the Merrow, just because like isn't Hogwarts in Scotland?
I believe so.
So it's all kind of over there, similar like, locations. So,
right.
So maybe
the Scottish have their own
version of the Merrow
creatures. Yeah. So she'll like completely abandon her husband and children if they have any, and go back to the sea.
Gosh.
There are people in Ireland who claim to be descendants of the Merrow, and they say that they're Merrow descendants, and the reason that they're descendants of them is because fishermen caught the Merrow in their nets and then became the wives and had the children and such.
Yeah. So I wonder what convinces them they're descendants of it. Like, do they have like webbed feet or something? Or
I mean, maybe, or they just really want to like have,
or they feel like they are really pretty and
tie to the sea. I don't know. According to Gaelic legend, the Merrow frolicked in frigid waters near the rugged Irish coastline. These seafarers were women from the waist up and fish from the waist down. So see, there's differentiating
kind of
information into
mermaids there.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's different and opinions in the research that I did. Although there were also male Merrow, they were far less attractive, like I said earlier. They're believed to be ugly beings with bright green hair, which I forgot to mention earlier, which I think is kind of cool. And the Merrow men that abducted helpless sailors and kept them enslaved below the sea.
Oh, how?
I don't know. I couldn't find that in my research, but that's really cool. Like
Maybe they drowned, they kept their souls or something.
Maybe. Now the females were obviously more attracted to the company of men and instead of pairing off with their own kind. They also had green hair in a softer pastel shade or long golden tresses and wore
mermaid hair where you get like the blues.
Mermaids. Yeah.
Mermaid hair. Okay. I mean, I know, sorry, Merrow descendants. I know that they say don't confuse them with mermaids, but there's a lot of kind of pop culture-y sounding things with mermaids with these Merrow.
Oh, speaking of sirens, further in my notes, I found this. Beautiful song the Merrow sang lured others just like sirens in Greek mythology. They used to entice the humans. So maybe that's how the men also captured the sailors, or they would have the women
lure them and luring,
and then they would take them. Yeah.
Team effort.
So that would be messed up.
Yeah.
Oh, just kidding. They call them sea fairies. Further in my notes. Note to myself to remember everything I write down.
Everything in Irish folklore is some.
They could be very violent or friendly, depending on their foes. So, I mean, if you were violent towards them, they were violent towards you.
That makes sense. That's fair.
Tales of violence include pulling the arms and legs off of their victims were not uncommon.
Gruesome.
Yeah.
I was picturing just, drowning or something, not tearing them limb for limb.
Right.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. The powerful magic of the Merrow grants them a special place in Gaelic mythology. And so, yeah, that right there is the bewitching tales of Irish folklore, ladies and gents.
And honestly,
they and thems, we're inclusive here.
Absolutely. I feel like we barely scratched the surface. Like they're so,
but with the time constraints that we're given within podcast realm, like we don't want people to be like, oh, these bitches never shut up. So.
Right. Well, maybe someday we'll come back to Irish folklore right here in the parlor, because this has been very interesting and informative. And like I said, there's so many of these creatures that we've always heard of. They've always been in pop culture, whether it's super well known like Leprechauns or like in a couple shows here and there like Changelings and Banshees. It's like we know of these things, but you don't know them until you start diving in like this. And it's so interesting to hear where they come from, what the realities could have been of why the stories came around. Like it's just a lot, and I love it.
Yeah, I was really excited to do this episode, especially since we're releasing our very first episode on St. Patrick's Day. It just felt fitting.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, by the way, listeners.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, listeners. Drink some green beer for me, or green Jello shots if you prefer vodka, like me.
Or just eat a feast if you do it the old-fashioned way. With no alcohol.
No, I mean, Guinness stew has alcohol in it. You just cook it out.
And it cooks out.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you guys so much. Can't wait to see you guys again.
Bye.
Bye.
Want to know a little secret? Okay, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. It's called Anchor. And don't tell anyone, but it's completely free. And there are creation tools that allow you to record right in your phone or on your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast so you can be heard on Spotify and Apple and so many more. You can make money on your podcast. There's no minimal listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So go now, right now, and download the Anchor app, which is completely free, or go to Anchor FM. That's ANCHOR FM. Thank you for listening to Ghosts in the Attics, Bodies in the Basement, a Fearscape Media podcast. Music by Stephen Timperley. Artwork by Laura Ramsey. Find us online at fearscapemedia.com/GABB podcast, or on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at GABB podcast, or email us gabbpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you.